Alright, this is my brain dissection video. So what I'll be going over is just going down the glossary. So we have the arachnoid matter, which there's 3 different layers of the outside of the brain that helps protect the spinal cord and the brain from sudden impact. So that is the middle of the 3 layers of the brain, the outside of the brain. Then you have the cerebellum, which is the part of the brain that receives info regulating your motor movements, which is right here. And then you have the cerebral aqueduct, which connects the third ventricle with the fourth ventricle to see the cerebrospinal fluid find its pathway, which is right in here. And then you have the cerebrum, which is made up of the right and left hemispheres that perform the higher functions. So if you put the brain together, there's the right and left hemisphere, which then you have the choroid plexus, which produces the spinal fluid, and you can find that in the roof of the ventricles. So here's the ventricles are found right in here. The third ventricle is found right here, and then you have the fourth ventricle, which is found right here. And then you have the corpus callosum, which integrates motor, sensory, and cognitive performances from one side of the brain to the same spot on the other side of the brain. So you can find the corpus callosum right here. And then you have the cortex, which helps with attention, perception, awareness, thought, memory, language, and consciousness. You can find the cortex, which is the outer portion of the cerebrum, which is the outer part of the right and left hemispheres. You then have the cranial nerves, which is there's 12 nerves that deal with sensory, motor, and or both. So if you like flip this over, you can see some of the nerves right here going on through. And then, so then the next thing we have the diencephalon, which is what relays the sensory info between the different regions of the brain, as well as controls many of the autonomic functions of the PNS, which connects the structures of the endocrine system with the NS system, and that works with managing emotions and memories as well. You can find the diencephalon, which is the region of the brain which is made up of the thalamus and the hypothalamus, and that's where you'll find that area. We then have the dura mater, which is and obviously the outer part of which supports the outside of the brain and the spinal cord for the impact, and basically acts as a support for the brain. Then you have gray matter, which is found out throughout here. The gray matter is what includes regions of the brain which include the muscle control, sensory perception, hearing, memory, emotions, speech, decision making, and self-control. And then after that you have the gyros, which is one of the which is these right here. The gyros is it basically increases the surface area. Then you have the hippocampus, which is part of it's below the lateral ventricles, which is found right here. And the hippocampus is a consolidation of info from short-term memory to long-term memory, also spatial memory, and that helps with navigation. Then you have the medulla, which is a center for respiration and circulation, and you can find the medulla right here. And then you have the midbrain, which is right here, which deals with the motor movement, specifically movements of the eye, auditory and visual processing. The olfactory bulb is right up here, and that is where you find the info which about odors is odors is processed, yeah. And then you have the optic chiasma, which is a site for the crossing over the which is right here, and that is the optic nerve fibers. Then you have the pia mater, which is what covers the surface of the brain and helps protect the CNS with cerebrospinal fluid. And you can find that, which is the innermost of the 3 layers. And then you have the pineal body, which is, the function isn't fully understood, but does produce and regulate the same hormones, such as melatonin, which regulates sleep. And you can find the pineal body, let's see here, right here. And then if you go to the next one, you can have pons. The pons are right here. Right here. And the pons are what relay signals from the forebrain to the cerebellum, as well as the nuclei that deals with swelling, bladder control, respiration, sleep, hearing, equilibrium, taste, eye movement, facial expressions, facial sensation, and posture. Then you have the sulcus, which is the increase the surface area, and from the brain of the divisions, which is these little divids right there. Then you have the thalamus, which is obviously right there in that relay center of where the sensory nerves transmit signals from the spinal cord and the brainstem to the cerebral cortex. Then you have ventricles, which produce and transport cerebrospinal fluid, which I told you are right here. Fourth ventricle, third ventricle. And then you have white matter, which is these right here, and that is what affects learning and brain functions, controlling the distribution of action potentials, acts on the relay and coordinating communication between the different brain regions. And then you have the hypophysis, which is secretes hormones into your bloodstream, and that's the thing that goes right down here. I don't know if it's on mine for some reason. It sort of seems a little bit off. Then you have the hypothalamus, which releases the hormones, which means the regulating of body temperature and many daily physiological cycles. And that is my brain dissection.